Make a deal. I don't know what's worse, grumbled Rory Bramblestep. The endless hours being wet all the time, the back-breaking labour that usually yields nothing more than stinking mud and twisted bits of worthless metal, knowing that any moment a gang of damn Druge might... The first arrow struck Giffin in the shoulder, causing him to lose his grip on the net. He overbalanced, nearly plunging into the murky water, but Isla grabbed him by his belt and pulled him back. Rory blinked stupidly at the pair of them for a moment, still ineffectually hauling the dredging net. "Get down, you fool!" hissed Isla, making a grab at his leg as more arrows thumped into the sides of the boat. He didn't need telling twice and joined the other two in the 2 inches of freezing, dirty water that covered the flat bottom of the Dragonfly. At the prow, Gethin hunkered down behind her shield, while Isla quickly smeared dark blue salve on Giffin's ruined shoulder. Gethin risked a quick look around the rim of her shield. An arrow missed her head by barely 3 inches as she jerked back. Cruel laughter drifted across the surface of the lake from the orcs on the bank. Several had splashed down into the water, angling their shots to try and hit the Navarre huddled in the bottom of the dredger. "There's about 20 of them that I can see," said Gethin grimly. "That likely means more in the woods that I can't. We need to cut the net and try to get out of bow range, but I don't know if we can manage that without getting shot. We'll have to do something, though. They're playing with us right now, but they've got our range, and pretty soon they're going to get bored." "I knew we were too close to the banks," lamented Rory unhelpfully. "Damn Druge are the worst thing about this awful job. I'm telling you, when we get back, I'm quitting. I've had enough of..." Suddenly the laughter of the Druge turned into shouts and screams, and a high-pitched shrieking roar echoed across the surface of the fever water. The boat rocked, caught in sudden waves. The Druge stopped firing their arrows. All colour drained from Gethin's face. She grabbed Rory and thrust him towards the rowing station. "Row! Row the damn boat, Rory!" she shouted. She tossed a blade to Isla, who quickly sawed through the thick ropes and released the net. The Thorn braced herself, shield ready, spear raised, for all the good it would do. Once the creature was finished with the Druge, there was every chance it was going to come after them. In fact, there was a good chance it was already on its way to attack them when the Druge distracted it. On the wooded banks to the north, the shrieking and screaming continued. The Druge had lost all interest in the dredging boat, and were instead fighting for their lives. Isla grabbed the other oar, slamming down onto the bench next to Rory, and the boat lurched forward through the water. "That is one big hydra," said Giffin, propping himself up in the bottom of the boat, still a little dazed. "I mean, none of them are small, but that one... Look, it's just thrown that one Druge 20 feet in the air, and then pulled in half when they came back down. Now it's..." "Stop talking," interrupted Rory. "I don't want to know. I just want to be out of here, and then I want to be out of here. I quit. I damn well quit. It's no kind of life when being shot at the Druge is only the second worst thing that can happen to ruin your day." Gethin smacked him on the head with the butt of her spear, and he shut up. "You know," said Giffin a little dreamily just before passing out, "I suspect this would be a whole lot easier if we just had bigger boats." Mandate in the Prosperity Assembly, Spring 384YE by Darien Numbers. There are 3 things that should not be made: food that goes uneaten, coin that goes unspent, and magic that goes unused. We send Highland Bronwyn's Rest with 25 liao to Thurunin to urge all prosperous citizens to seek out new opportunities for commerce and development in their lands, putting forward their proposals for consideration at the next summit, to look at the forest, docks and neighbours to fully realise the opportunities at hand. Overview. During the spring equinox, Cardinal Darien Numbers focused the eyes of the Prosperity Assembly on Thurunin. Virtuous folk have turned their attention to the Navarre territory, looking for opportunities to increase prosperity of the inhabitants, with particular attention being paid to the docks and neighbours. Thurunin is by no means a wealthy territory. The bayou and swamps are crisscrossed by trods, but there are few roads. While there are plenty of steadings, they tend to be small and relatively isolated. The largest settlement in Thurunin is probably Peakedge Stead, on the western border with Rykos, but even there its size is mostly due to the lingering highborn exiles. The excitement around the future of Seren and Miaran has highlighted the perception that one of the 3 Navari territories is still practically wilderness. For these people, the prompting of the Cardinal of Prosperity could not have come at a better time. After a great deal of discussion, the virtuous have 3 proposals that might help improve the prosperity in Thurunin. Song of Thorns. The largest and best-known settlement in Thurunin is that of Peakedge Stead. Built amidst the branches of immense ancient trees, the tranquil steading is a renowned centre for the study and practice of herb lore and healing. There are reasonable roads connecting the steading to High Chalcis in Rykos, and to High Watch in Morrow that make it a popular stopping-off point for the Imperial merchants interested in trading with the Navarre. It is certainly one of the most prosperous places in Thurunin, but the brokers propose the construction of something that will transform it into the most prestigious place to study herb law and medicine in the Empire. Thornsong House. A grand hospital built in Thurunin would require a Senate commission, 120 wains of weirwood, 240 crowns, take 9 months to complete, and have an upkeep of 10 thrones each season. The Thorn Singer would be an imperial title appointed annually by herb garden owners of Navarre. In addition to a ministry, the Thorn Singer would oversee development of new ways for imperial apothecaries to use herbs. If work on the project has not begun by the start of Summer Solstice 385 YE, enthusiasm for the project among the prosperous citizens of Thurunin will have faded. While every imperial nation practices the art of physic and apothecary, the Navarre consider themselves the true masters of herb law in the Empire. There is good evidence to suggest it was the Navarre that brought the secrets of Liao to the Highborn, and many of the potions used in the Empire were developed by the Navarre, although others claim they only acquired these recipes while travelling the Trods. Now there is a chance to build on that heritage. Peak Edge Song is a popular destination for highborn healers, and benefits from regular trade of herb gardens with Rykos. The great forest orcs of the Lower Tarn Valley provide invaluable new perspectives on the techniques for brewing potions. Indeed, these talented herbalists claim to have originated potions that the Druge then stole from them that are only now becoming known across the Empire. By building on these relationships and by making Peak Edge Song a beacon for imperial apothecaries, they propose to create a college for the study of herb law unmatched in the Empire. The heart of this college will be a weirwood hall and attendant herb gardens built around one of the largest of the great trees in Peak Edge, Thornsong House. Thornsong House will cost 120 wains of weirwood, 240 crowns in labour, 9 months to construct, and have an upkeep of 10 thrones per season. As a unique structure, it will need to be commissioned by the Imperial Senate. When it is completed, Peak Edge Song will be the premier site for the study of herbs in the Empire. It will also create an imperial title, the Thorn Singer, to oversee and guide the herbalists of Peak Edge Song. The well-worn path for appointing this national position would be via the tally of votes, by vote of the herb garden owners of Navarre. The Thorn Singer will oversee a ministry that allows them to secure both healing herbs and medicinal potions. More importantly, however, they will guide the herb masters of the Empire in expanding their mastery of herb law. Once the title is appointed, the Thorn Singer will be presented with 3 potential avenues of investigation that could be pursued over the coming year. The Thorn Singer will announce which one to focus on in the Imperial Senate. The Navarre will work with their allies to pursue this research and uncover new ways to use herbs. Each such project will require a large amount of herbs to complete, which will need to be covered by Imperial citizens, and will take at least a year, and magic will not be able to speed up this process. Out of character note, the project will be handled similarly to a Senate commission in that any character will be able to donate herbs or money to its completion during that downtime. Once complete, the project will produce something similar to a schema or a ritual text, a herbal that can be studied to learn how to make that potion. This will be delivered to the Thorn Singer, who will be solely responsible for determining what happens next. They could choose to keep the herbal to themselves, share it with a select few, or ask the Senate to make its contents available to every imperial apothecary. The latter would require a Senate motion and have a cost of 10 thrones, but the resulting potion would become available to all imperial citizens. In anticipation of Thornsong House being built, the herb masters of Peak Edge put forward 3 promising avenues of research that could be pursued. By studying the comparatively recent Talonvine infusion tonic, a similar potion that uses Realm's root and vital honey rather than ilium could be created. This would likely open the door to creating similar tonics for empowering magicians in the other 5 realms. Building on some of the principles involving the tonics of the open sky, a tonic could be developed that provides protection from Valorn miasma to the drinker. Expanding on the lore of the filters of the high peaks, a tonic that greatly enhances the magical reserves of magicians might be created. OOC note, a tonic that grants the drinker an additional 3 points of personal mana for an extended duration. This opportunity remains available for 1 year. If work on the project has not been begun by the start of Summer Solstice 385 YE, enthusiasm and interest in the project from the prosperous citizens of Thurunin will be lost. Fever Dreams. The docks at Feverwater could be significantly expanded thanks to recent information about Sarengrave. The docks of Feverwater are ancient, jutting quays of white granite and weirwood that may date back to the height of the Duriniel Empire. They are built in the ruins of quite a large settlement, and much larger than would be appropriate if they were merely used for fishing. The advisor on the Valorn recently commissioned the Department of Historical Research to look into the docks, while Imperial heroes mapped the parts of the Malum on the other side of the lake, the territory of Sarengrave. The appraisal commissioned by the Imperial Senate regarding the feasibility of raising a slave rebellion in the Druge territory has also brought to light the presence of the Bloodwater Spears, a sept of orcs that live along the eastern banks. It also confirmed the suspicion that the shores of the far eastern third of the lake are dominated by the Valorn of Biantal Dol. As a consequence, interest in the Feverwater, and especially the docks, is heightened at the moment. In summer 379 YE, the Imperial Senate created the post of the Dredge Master of Feverwater to oversee the docks and dredge the depths for valuables. The operation has always been limited in scale due to the dangers of the marshes and forests that border the Feverwater. Between the Hydra and the intermittent raids of the Druge, it is difficult to maintain any strong presence on the shores of the Feverwater. In autumn 378 YE, the first forays into the southeastern end of the Feverwater were planned, but ultimately scrapped. Now, however, the Empire has a much better idea of the terrain along both sides of the lake, and that presents opportunities. Expanding the docks. The ruin at the Feverwater docks could be converted into a fortified steading and its remit greatly expanded. Building up the steading would require a Senate commission, 6 wains of white granite, 12 wains of weirwood, 36 crowns in labour, and take 3 months to complete. If work on the project has not begun by the start of Summer Solstice 385 YE, enthusiasm for the project among prosperous citizens of Thurunin will have faded. Those part of East Ashes that are not entirely underwater are wild marshes dominated by dripping ancient mangrove trees. Even before the fall of Zenith, the region was a popular target for Druge raids and monster attacks. While there are several steadings in the area, they tend to be built in the northwestern parts of the region, the better to guard against the Valorn of Sweetglades. With the encouragement of the Cardinal of Prosperity ringing in their ears, a group of Navarre brokers joined the researchers heading to the docks of Feverwaters to make their own assessment of the situation there. The news is not particularly good. The wealth of the Feverwater, such as it is, comes from recycling what amounts to rubbish drawn from the thick layer of silt at the bottom of the lake. It is dangerous work and rarely provided anything of real value. Worse, the dredging boats are restricted to the northwestern end of the lake due to the presence of Druge and monsters along the wilder southern and eastern banks. In the eyes of these brokers, the key represents a wasted opportunity, and they have a proposal to significantly improve its worth to the Navarre. Using the Turuniel ruins as a starting point, they propose that a fortified steading be built around the docks, and that the piers themselves be restored and expanded. In addition to the flat-bottomed dredging boats that already use them, they propose building a number of faster launches intended to specifically protect the dredgers when they are about their business, allowing them to push into the Sarengrave half of the lake and the presumably untouched bounty there. In addition, they propose that the dredging boats be supplemented with boats intended not to drag the bottom of the lake, but to venture into the marshes and forests along the shores of the Feverwater. A preliminary study indicates that while these areas are hard to navigate by land, they can be reached with relative ease with boats. Such raiding boats would need to give the Druge settlement in the Bloodwater marshes a wide berth, at least for now, but expanding the operations here would greatly improve the Dredgemaster's impoverished income. The proposal would need to be commissioned by the Imperial Senate. It is, after all, effectively amending an existing commission, which no imperial title currently has the power to do. Taking advantage of the existing ruins, the actual cost would be 6 wains of white granite and 12 wains of weirwood, and 36 crowns in labour. It would take 3 months to complete. The resulting steading would need to be named. If this were done, it would grant 4 advantages to the Dredge Master of Feverwater. Firstly, the ability to dredge the parts of the southern and eastern ends of the lake, as well as the northwestern end, would double the amount of metals recovered each season from 4 random ingots to 8 random ingots. Secondly, if the Dredge Master were prepared to pay for thorns, or even mercenaries of other imperial nations, the boats on the Feverwater would be able to push into the Druge-dominated areas of Bloodwater Marsh and occupied Zenith, as well as launching raids against the shores. The more the Dredge Master paid, the more effective these efforts would be, increasing the bounty of metals recovered from the depths, as well as providing ambergelt, beggar's lie, and healing herbs. With enough dominance of the Feverwater, it might even be possible to bring a little ilium out of its depths. This would function as a ministry. Third, the docks at Feverwater would serve as a staging point for adventurers being prepared to push into the Sarengrave. The river that feeds into the Sarengrave is wide, running through the Valorn heart of Biandol, and then up through the Nesustak forest and Turan Flats. Given their familiarity with the Forlorn, the Navarre Thorns would be the ideal people to take advantage of this opportunity. It would create a new independent action option for military units to adventure into the Sarengrave. The action would only be available to Navarre characters. Rather than receiving random production a basic military unit does, they will receive 8 random herbs and 6 random forest resources from battling orcs and Forlorn spawn, exploring the woods, and seeking out opportunities to explore the forests and marshes of the Malum. An upgraded or enchanted military unit will gain proportionately more. Finally, the brokers suggest that once the work is complete, it might be possible for the Senate to appraise the situation with an eye towards using the docks at Feverwater to assist any invasion of the Sarengrave. They are merchants, not generals, however, and they are unable to offer any insights into whether such a thing is possible or what it might involve, beyond the fact that the control of the Feverwater might conceivably prove useful in conquering the regions that border it. If work on the project has not begun by the start of Summer Solstice 385YE, enthusiasm for the project among the prosperous citizens of Thurunin will have faded. Feverwater Wreck. Conjunction. There is an opportunity to explore a wreck wedged beneath the surface of the Feverwater. The civil service suggests the Dredgemaster of Feverwater might be the best position to organise the mission. Accessibility. The trip to the wreck is dangerous, but the trip will not automatically result in a fight. Whilst combat is possible, it is not a given. The confrontation with some Thurunin outlaws during the spring equinox resulted in the rescue of one Merrill, the first advisor on the Forlorn, who had apparently been kidnapped while exploring some Turuniel ruins near the docks at Feverwater. It seemed that rather than leave the area, Merrill has continued to investigate certain leads, and his researches have borne unexpected fruit. The discovery of an ancient petrified boat wedged partially in an air-filled cave at the bottom of the Feverwater. The wreck is very old. It might even be of Turuniel origins, and it seems to be incredibly well preserved. Merrill has been unable to reach the wreck himself. Indeed, when he attempted to do so, he sustained vicious injuries from the local wildlife that have left him unable to attend Anvil this season in person. Instead, he has sent news of its existence to Anvil. Some careful investigation later, and the civil service have confirmed that there is indeed a conjunction of the Sentinel Gate leading to a location beneath the Feverwater that seems to be this air-filled cave. The gate will open at 1 in the afternoon on Saturday and will provide access to the cave for no more than half a dozen people. Given the location and what details Merrill has been able to provide, it seems likely that the Dredgemaster of Feverwater would be the ideal person to organise a trip to the cave. Merrill warns of 2 potential problems. The wreck went down in waters that appear to be infected with some kind of venomous freshwater octopus native to the Sarengrave. While the creatures themselves are unlikely to be more than a nuisance, there are signs of something larger, a predator preying on the nasty little cephalopods lairing in the vicinity of the wreck. Anyone venturing through the gate will need to make careful preparation. Good neighbours. The Great Forest Orcs have been living alongside the Navarre of Thurunin for some years now, and with minor exceptions, the relationship has been guardedly friendly. They have never made any secret of the fact that their ultimate goal is to return to their homes under the eaves of Paytat, however. When the news of Imperial armies fighting in the Barrens reaches them, it energises many of the Orcs of the Great Forest. There is a great deal of discussion as to what this means for their sept. What quickly becomes clear is that not every Great Forest Orc plans to return to the Barrens. Some have developed friendships with their neighbours. Others have become enamoured of travelling the Trods to visit the remnants of the Great Forest all over the Empire. Still others have taken up permanent residence at Peakedge Song, studying and in turn sharing their own techniques with the Navarre. While the majority of Orcs want to go home to the Barrens, they also recognise the debt they owe to their hosts. When the brokers, encouraged by the Cardinal to speak to their neighbours, approach their counterparts among the Great Forest Orcs, they find them not only very receptive, but ready with proposals of their own. One proposal is straightforward, the other is potentially more controversial. Song of the Green. Any Navarre in Thurunin needs 1 fewer Wain of Weirwood to upgrade their herb garden with the aid of the Great Forest Orcs. Opportunity remains available until the start of the Summer Solstice 385YE. The Orcs are adept at working with Weirwood, and their ability to build with the precious material outstrips that of the Empire, as evidenced by structures such as the Holt of the Oak. They have used this skill, and the access to Weirwood from the Thimble to cultivate many herb gardens and farms in the Lower Tarn Valley. Now that their security is reasonably well established, they propose to visit the herb garden of any Navarre in Thurunin who will welcome them and employ their affinity for the precious wood to help improve the supply of herbs. As a consequence, any Navarre in Thurunin who wishes to upgrade their herb garden can do so for 1 fewer weirwood than normal. So, to upgrade a standard herb garden to a rank 2 would cost 1 weirwood rather than 2, and to raise a rank 3 herb garden to rank 4 would only need 3 wains. They ask nothing in return. They offer their aid in recognition of the fact that when they were homeless and pursued by the Druge, the Navarre of Thurunin gave them a home. This opportunity will remain available to the Navarre in Thurunin until at least the start of the summer solstice 385 YE, and potentially for as long as the Great Forest Orcs are present in the territory and have a good relationship with the nation. Dream of the future. If the Senate will assure the Great Forest Orcs of their intention to cede the Eves of Paytat to them, then their gratitude will extend to every Navarre in the Empire. In addition, they will help to cultivate the thimble, permanently increasing its production. This opportunity is only available during the summer solstice 384 YE. The Great Forest Orcs have several times mentioned that what they really want is to return to their homes on the edge of the Great Forest of Paytat. Their people have apparently lived in the heart of Paytat for untold generations. Even when they laboured under the tyranny of the Druge, they did not abandon the forest. They tended the weirwood grove known as the Eves of Paytat, practising their traditions of venerating the ancient trees. With the Empire again active in the Barrens and inspired by brokers, they have made a request of the Imperial Senate and offered their support to the Navarre in return. They ask that the Imperial Senate pass a Senate motion agreeing that once the Barrens is an Imperial territory, they will cede the heart of Paytat, and by extension the weirwood grove there, to the Great Forest Orcs. In return, their woodshapers will spend the next year travelling the trods of Navarre, visiting Miaran, Hakinia, and even Brokeliand, offering their expertise to expand herb gardens there, just as they are doing in Thurunin. That is, reducing the cost to upgrade by 1 wain of weirwood for each rank. Furthermore, their tree tenders will help to cultivate the thimble in Thurunin, expanding its productions by 2 wains each season. The Great Forest Orcs have been receiving a portion of the bounty of the thimble, and will continue to do so until they return to the Barrens or the Senate changes their mind, but the increase of production will be permanent. Obviously, the Senate cannot bind the hands of future senators, but that is not what the Great Forest Orcs are asking for. They simply want a public commitment from the Imperial Senate to return their homes to them if and when the Barrens is conquered. In the event that such a future Senate choose to ignore the promised money to the Great Forest Orcs, then there would likely be significant repercussions. The opportunity is only available in the summer solstice. If the Senate chooses not to make the promise to the Great Forest Orcs now, it will be taken as a sign that they are not sincere about restoring their homes. The Orcs aren't foolish. They know that situations change and that imperial politics are complex, but they will no longer be interested in offering their aid outside of Thurunin or in the Thimble. The Lost Liao Garden. The question about what to do with the salvage of the Lost Liao Garden of Thurunin still remains unresolved. During the Spring Equinox 383 YE, Knight-errant Edric Fjellravening of House de Rondel led a group of heroes through the Sentinel Gate to a location just outside of the Sweetglades. The expedition apparently uncovered the Lost Liao Garden of Thurunin, a sinecure built in the early days of the Empire that sought to harness the fecundity of the Valorn to grow venom more efficiently. The garden was believed overrun and destroyed during the reign of Emperor Nikovar, but it seems that Edric and their companions were able to visit and clear the Valorn spawn and the remains of the old facility. Details are hazy, but it seems that in the wake of their visit, the Briars of the Tarn Valley and the Great Forest Orcs recovered a large supply of preserved venom sap and a number of pieces of equipment related to its refinement. The Briars proposed using the equipment to begin refining their own liao and gave the name of one of their people, Ursol Gwyn, prepared to receive missives from Imperial citizens. The question of what to do with the venom and the equipment, if anything, has still not been resolved. Full details can be found in the Long Walk Home Wind of Fortune. Trouble brewing. Since the spring equinox, there have been several reports of an outlaw gang operating in southern East Ashes. During the equinox, a band of Imperial heroes and militia travelled there via the Sentinel Gate to confront some elements of the gang, but the potential threat of the lawless bandits has by no means been dealt with. It seems that some of them are former Navarre displaced from Brokeliand and Liathavan, while others are convicted criminals who are unable or unwilling to pay fines imposed by Imperial magistrates. There is no information about how many there are, or how they are organised. For the most part, they seem to be more interested in raiding the Druge and Zenith than they are in attacking Imperial citizens in Thurunin, but there has been some harassment aimed at travellers walking the trods in East Ashes. For the moment, Navarre magistrates are monitoring the situation. While nothing too serious has happened so far, some of the steadings of Thurunin are a little nervous given the recent events in Varushka. With the possibility that the Druj might actually be driven out of Zenith, those outlaws will presumably need to find new targets for their raid.